Hey everyone, it's Nico here with the Knightling, which is an action adventure that looked from the gameplay and trailers that I saw very similar to The Legend of Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom, and Breath of the Wild. So immediately it caught my attention on that front, but after playing about 3.5 hours or so of it, I think it does a lot of things differently than those games, so it kind of changed my expectation. So I'm here to show off the game and share my experience with you throughout that time that I played it. Now, I would have loved to have reviewed the game and gotten all the way through it, but I only got this game about a day and a half before the release date, so that simply was not enough time for me to do a full review like I usually do. So I thought 3.5 hours was a good sample size and as much as I could possibly squeeze in. So I'm here to give you my impressions. I had an opportunity to tinker with all the different parts of the gameplay because it has a heavy focus on not just combat, and combat is actually probably the part of the game that you're going to engage with the least, at least in the beginning, but also platforming is huge in this, and also puzzles. There's quite a few different types of puzzles that you'll see throughout the gameplay in this video. So at the start though, in the Knightling, you do have your choice of difficulty. I went for the middle, but if you want an easier experience, there's an easy, and then additionally there's hard. If you like a challenge, there you go. I think it's mostly just going to affect the combat, which again, there wasn't a whole lot of. And then you're going to be thrust right into the adventure where you play as a Knightling. And this Knightling is basically like an apprentice for the legendary Sir Lionstone. So you'll accompany him in the beginning as it teaches you the fundamentals of the mobility and the platforming. And then later on in the tutorial section, then you're going to get your main weapon and means of mobility, which is the shield. So the shield plays a huge part of the game, and that is the core element that I really want to draw a lot of attention to because it is intertwined into all of the things I already mentioned: the combat, the puzzles, and the platforming. For the combat, you can not only use it for attacking, but you can also use it to block. Well-timed blocks will also yield a parry, and all of this is taught to you very early on. And then there is a Knight Academy, which allows you to upgrade your abilities even further and gain new attacks, more combos, things like that. So you're going to see a lot of these glowy yellow orbs that drop from enemies or that are placed throughout the world as collectibles. That's how you upgrade this part of your kit. Then in terms of the mobility, there is a blacksmith that allows you to upgrade the shield itself, and you can get some new abilities for the shield. Like you can get increased mobility and more attack power and stuff like that using different materials that you'll collect. There's some bolts and then this other material type. So those are used for that aspect of your kit and upgrading. Then for those of you that are into cosmetics and customizing your character, there's a tailor, and you can use some of these same materials to get new shield colors and, new cosmetics for your Knightling. So that's there too if that's your thing, and I think they actually have some premium ones you could purchase with real money as well. But the main focus that I want to draw is that this has a very, very long tutorial, at least for my taste, as it is an hour long. An hour tutorial is really long, but it teaches you everything you need to know to get started, and it does it in a way that I think's interesting. Normally tutorials are kind of dry, and I'm just like, can we get this over with? I know how to play the game. But here it's done in a way that's interesting and pretty fun, so I didn't mind it too much. But after an hour, that's when you're eventually going to get cut loose. And the world opens up a little bit, so you can go explore, do side quests, search for chests, because the chests will drop you some loot, and then also sometimes the consumables, which any food item that glows green that you pick up, it fills your meter in the bottom left corner if it's not full already, and that's what you use to heal by pressing down on the D-pad. It'll take some of that away, and then it'll refill your health. You don't have like flasks or anything like that, or potions from what I can tell. You just collect food, it fills this meter, and then you deplete that meter when you heal. So the side quests, some of them are okay. I did some that were like, go here, go there, talk to this person, talk to that person. But then there's also more interesting ones, because a big part of the mobility in this is that you could slide on your shield. Now, obviously, shield surfing was a thing in the Zelda games, but here, there's a real heavy emphasis on it. So there was one mission in particular that's actually like a race, and you're trying to do a time trial. It's not like a player-to-player race. It's just a time trial where you're trying to get a gold, silver, bronze, and then you'll get more rewards depending on which medal you get. I thought that was pretty cool and interesting. A little bit later on, I gained the ability to use my shield to glide. So I was really early on in the game seeing like there's a heavy emphasis on using the shield for mobility, and also puzzles, and also the platforming. And I think it's really interesting and well done that the way they use the shield for all of these core elements, and then there's all these different ways that you can upgrade your character. I like that the world was open after the tutorial section, but not too open, where I felt like lost and that I can go absolutely anywhere. There were certain areas I couldn't quite get to yet because I lacked, the mobility to even get there. There's quite a bit of dialogue in the beginning because you're learning and talking to all these characters that are going to be an important part of your adventure. There is some voice acting, and then some is kind of like the Banjo-Kazooie style where it sounds like gibberish. Your character is kind of the silent protagonist, but the voice acting that I did here was really good. I liked it quite a bit, and just the sound design in general was really solid. There's some pretty good music. A lot of it's very atmospheric, and then the visual design, it's got kind of that like cel-shaded art style going on, similar to like maybe Wind Waker or something like that. I really like it. It's very appealing, and the art is what first drew me to this and caught my attention. And once I saw the gameplay, I was like, ooh, I gotta check this out. But yeah, it does a lot of things really well. I'm trying to think of anything that I didn't like in the beginning part of the game. I guess there's this part in the tutorial section where you gotta be stealthy, but it doesn't tell you need to be stealthy. So a few times, like, I got seen by a soldier as I'm trying to get to the queen, and then it kicked me back and I had to start over. I don't like stealth just in general, so I guess that's a complaint of mine. But, the map is pretty detailed. You can unlock more of it by doing this little side quest thing for the cartographer, and then he'll open up more of the map. And then he also sells some stamps which you can purchase, which allow you to see the locations of different things, like where the orbs are, or where the hidden chests are, or things like that. So that's pretty cool. It reminded me a bit of like Horizon Zero Dawn, where you can open up more of the map by scaling those creatures that are like tower necks. Yeah, so I think that pretty much covers everything in terms of like the mobility and the puzzles. As far as the combat goes, it's really solid. In the beginning, it seems like, it's kind of button mashing, but that's because you don't quite have enough abilities yet to start doing some in-depth combos. Like, one of the best abilities, I think, to get at the start is this air launch, where you can slap an enemy up in the air with your shield, and then you can kind of, hit them a few times in the air and juggle them, and then you can slam them to the ground. Eventually, I did get, like, this ground slam attack, which was pretty strong and pretty cool. So, the further you get into it, I think the better the combat's going to get, because you're opening up more of the Knightling's kit. So, I did like it. There was a boss fight that I did engage with. I know that might be a question some of you have. Are there any boss fights? Yes, I did encounter one, which you're seeing some of that gameplay here. And then, yeah, there's different types of enemies. Some are armored, and you can stun them and peel their armor off. Some are a little bit weaker, and they're there in large quantities. There's a good amount of variety there in the combat, and I think the further you get into it, the more fun it's going to be, because I've really enjoyed the new abilities that I've gotten towards the end of my playtime so far. There does seem to be some different biomes, in terms of the world, and I did towards the end reach a like sandy kind of area. It's more dry than the grassy knoll I was in originally. But yeah, I thought the world map was pretty interesting. It was a lot of fun to shield surf throughout it or hit an air gust and glide across it. There's a lot of speed to this game. So what I like about that is I don't feel like it's taking me forever to move throughout the world, which is something that I can't say for a lot of other games like this. Often you don't have enough mobility and it seems like a slog to move from location to location. And also they give you fast travel really early on. So you can fast travel to key locations and remove a lot of that, you know, backtracking that you might have to do if you had not had that available to you. So overall, I think, you know, my first 3.5 hours, I really don't have any complaints. I've loved this game and I'm definitely going to play more of it. I probably won't do a review because right now is release day and there's not really going to be a point. But I might talk about this game again in the future because I think there's a real possibility that I love it enough to talk about it again, or perhaps maybe my impressions will change as I get more into it. But so far, I've absolutely loved it. It is available on not just PC, but also consoles. This was the PC version I was playing, but I've had an absolute blast with it. And I really wish I had more time to do a full review because I think I'd have a lot more to say if I had more time. But unfortunately, you know, that's just not how it works sometimes here on YouTube. So hopefully you enjoyed my first impressions and preview for the Knightling. I'll have a link to the Steam version below if you're interested in checking out the trailers or seeing the user reviews, which is always really helpful. And anything like that, but it is available on console, not Switch, but PlayStation and Xbox, I believe. So check this one out because this is a really great game and I think it might fly under the radar because it came seemingly out of nowhere. I had not heard about this game up until like maybe 2 or 3 days ago, and then they sent me a key to check it out about a day and a half ago, and then here I am. I just absolutely had to get a video out on release day, so I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to give it a like. Comment below and let me know what you thought of the game or if you have any questions, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. And as always, I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you next time.